Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth.
On Now You Know.
Sponsored this week by abetterrouteplanner.com. Plan your next trip with the ability to add waypoints and find the charges you need along the way.
Now with over 7 million trips planned.
And sponsored by ecoware.us, where you can get new designs uploaded every week. Jesse is wearing one, which, are you going to figure it out? Where every purchase is carbon neutral and we plant a tree for every tea.
So it's actually carbon negative.
That's right. So if you've been paying any attention to the American political system, you know that there's been some debates lately among the Democratic candidates for president. And one candidate in particular has gotten a lot of flack for some things he said during the debates. Andrew Yang said the following: "The U.S. is only 15% of global emissions. We like to act as if we're 100%, but the truth is, even if we were to curb our emissions dramatically, the Earth is still going to get warmer. And we can see it around us. This summer, the last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded history. This is going to be a tough truth, but we are too late. We are 10 years too late. We need to do everything we can to start moving the climate in the right direction, but we also need to start moving our people to higher ground."
Now, he got quite a bit of flack for this. A lot of people did not like the things that he was saying. And I want to just separate what we're talking about here from his specific policy of UBI.
UBI?
Universal basic income. It's not necessarily an economic policy that's going to promote, moving people to higher ground. It's just that everyone gets $1,000 per month just for being a citizen.
Yeah, so I want to separate here. We're not saying that that is the way to solve this problem, but I do like that he actually addressed the problem.
Right.
And he got a lot of flack for saying some pretty tough stuff, which is that basically we're behind and that we're probably going to have to move people to higher ground.
Right.
People did not want to hear that.
No. And it's really sad because this is exactly what we need to hear. This is like, it's like we're in the locker room, it's halftime, we're down by 10, and what's the coach going to be telling us? Is the coach going to be saying like, "Oh, well, we're going to be doing everything we can to get to win the game. Don't worry, you guys, we can do it. And we won't have to sacrifice hardly anything." No. No, the coach is going to be saying, "What the heck was that first half, guys? We're down by 10. We are down by 10. Joey, what were you thinking? What are you doing? You're not doing anything. We need to move the ball down the court. We need to get ahead of this. We need to score more points." This is not what we have been hearing. Basically, no. as a nation and as a world, we've just been hearing, well, business as usual. We'll just continue doing everything the way we've been doing, but there's all sorts of lovely things. Look at that. There's an electric car. We've solved the problem.
Yeah.
It's not it.
No, I mean, it's very un-American the way that we've been doing it, I'll be honest, okay? The American way is to own up to our mistakes and to learn from them instead of burying our heads in the sand.
Right.
I mean, we reported this week that Boston leads the way in greenhouse gas reductions in this country, topping all other American cities. Now, when we reported that, Jesse and I were like, wait, what? We live near Boston.
Right.
We're in Boston all the time. In fact, I was walking around Boston last night looking for examples of this. I was really trying hard to see, are there any electric cars I missed before? Are there any signs that we're doing anything different? And no, we're not. I've been all around America. We're not doing anything different in Boston than in any other city. And yet, Boston is number 1 in the nation on a scorecard that gives it 77.5 points out of 100. So, first of all, that's an abysmal score if you're number 1.
Right.
But secondly, to be the best city at greenhouse gas reduction,
I would be expecting to see lots and lots and lots of solar.
Yeah.
Or lots and lots and lots of wind, or lots and lots and lots of public electric car charging, lots of public vehicles that are electric instead of being gas powered, lots of policies that would be reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
There aren't any visible ones. Maybe we've got some magical machine running in the bottom of the State House, but I haven't seen it, so I don't think that that's true.
No, if this is the best we've got, and keep in mind that cities in America are the liberal centers, and if there was ever going to be a place that was going to do something about greenhouse gas emissions and the climate crisis, it would be the cities of America.
Right.
And yet, if they're not doing it, then who's doing it? We're all supposed to pretend that we're going to get ahead of this thing.
Right.
Everyone was ripping into Andrew Yang because they're like, well, we're going to come up with something. Right. Don't you worry.
The best case scenario is that the climate's only going to go up 1 degree. That That's already baked in. Even if tomorrow we stopped emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and all other greenhouse gases, including methane that we dig out of the ground and then dump into the air, even if we stopped doing that tomorrow, we would still be going up 1 degree, which I don't think everyone is ready for because we haven't done it yet. And this summer is already the hottest recorded in Boston, just, the nearest city to us.
I mean, July in Boston was horrific. If you weren't at a beach in the water.
Right. You were in a building in air conditioning. There was no other way that you were actually going to really survive other than that.
And everyone's jumping down the throat of the one guy here who is pointing out the problem.
Right.
That's called leadership.
Right.
So in other words, kill the messenger, right? That's what we're doing. We're waiting for the one person like Andrew Yang or Greta Thunberg or us to say that there's a problem that we should be addressing, and then everyone gets mad at that person. That's not how you solve problems. And of course, that's what Americans do. We have now defined a winning leader as one who will lie to us about the great stuff that we're going to get after the election, which won't be delivered because it was all bull, instead of telling us that we have a problem to address and we need to work together and sacrifice to solve it.
So if you don't want to do some sacrificing now, you are in essence saying, F you, next generation. We'll sacrifice you.
I mean, I'm sick and tired of getting emails from people asking us to tone it down. Just talk about the fun stuff, Zac and Jesse. Talk about EVs more. Talk about, technology. We don't want to hear all this, climate crisis talk. That's not why we're watching you.
Well, that's why we're talking about the fun stuff, the EVs and the solar, because it's needed. And that's why we are so negative on other car manufacturers.
It's not that we want them to suck. They just do. Most of them suck. Now, some of them don't suck. Some of the newer companies like Unity, Arcimoto, Scion, Solo, Green Power, Proterra, Rivian, Neo, and I could name a bunch of others. And if you watch this show, they are trying to come up with compelling cars with new ideas and new technology. But big auto companies are not. Let's not lie about it. Their cars are years behind. Right. So let's take a look at one of them. Let's take a look at the I-Pace.
I got this sent to me in the mail the other day from Jaguar. Thanks, Jaguar. It's a little book. Cool, neato. And, at first I was like, oh, that's some great junk mail. And then I start flipping through it, and it's really, really high quality. I mean, and then they put this little
Is that a plastic page?
Little plastic page in there, so you can't recycle it. Thank you very much, Jaguar. That's really nice of you. Talking all about a unique audio experience where you raise the volume with your foot.
Wait, what?
Oh,
what do you mean?
It's an electric. This is for the I-Pace, the electric car.
What do you mean you raise the volume with your foot?
So they developed sound for their car, right? They did, because that way it sounds just like the E-Pace, or it sounds like a spaceship warp drive. Okay, the Model 3 already sounds like it has a warp drive, but it doesn't have speakers pumping that in.
Does it talk about how it's emission free?
No. Hear the roar.
Does it talk about how it doesn't pollute like an ICE car does?
No, you'll feel the racing heritage.
No, but I mean, the whole point of an electric car in my mind is that it doesn't pollute.
It has a thoughtful interior where luxury and technology live together in harmony.
But it doesn't talk about emissions free.
No.
Okay, so they wrote a whole book about it.
Right.
And the whole point, the whole reason why you and I are buying on these electric cars is because they don't pollute, and they don't talk about that.
There's not one mention of it. Now, you might be wondering, why did they send me this very expensive, very,
Yeah, why did they?
It's coming right off the page.
They must know that you like electric cars.
They do, but it's mostly because during the first 6 months of this year, Jaguar sold 1,309 Jaguar I-Paces in the U.S.
Okay.
And according to the latest news, dealers in the U.S. have 1,338 I-Paces in inventory.
I don't get it.
Their cars are not selling. They have 6 months worth of inventory. So at the rate that they went for the first 6 months of the year, they have enough cars on their lots to sell for the rest of the year.
Oh, because it's not a very compelling car.
Not a very compelling car.
Especially for the price.
Especially for the price.
I mean, if you compared it to the a $30,000 Nissan Leaf, it's compelling, but like it's not compelling at the price they're selling it at. We hear this from a lot of viewers. They say, well, stop picking on these other electric cars, Zach and Jesse. You're just comparing them to the Tesla. That's not fair. They're still electric. It's still good. And let's look at another one. Let's look at the Audi e-tron. They've just come out with the Audi e-tron 50, which is a smaller battery pack car to get the price down, I suppose. They'll be selling this in Europe, mainly because I don't think the Audi e-tron SUV is selling very well. So they had to do something to get the price down, and what that something was to put less batteries in it. So now they have a 71 kilowatt hour battery pack versus the 95 kilowatt hour in the regular car. That lowers the range from 204 EPA miles to about 150 EPA miles.
Right, because it's 186 WLTP,
Right,
which means, well, less than probably.
Pretend miles, exactly.
Right.
This goes 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. I could buy a Bolt and go faster.
And you'd have more range.
Right. This has less power. It went down from 402 horsepower to 308 horsepower. And the price didn't go down that much. It's still about 70,000 euros or about $77,500.
Right.
And it even charges slower than the original e-tron.
But Audi will still talk about making a Tesla killer and how this, the Audi e-tron is the best car in the world when, for 70,000 euros, you could buy 2 Bolts or 2, I guess in Europe, you'd buy Ampera E's. You'd have way more range. I mean, if you stapled the 2 cars together, you'd have 2 cars with almost double the range.
Right.
You'd have faster 0 to 60 times. Now, maybe it wouldn't be able to sit as many people. Maybe the inside wouldn't be as luxurious as this other one. But if we're trying to sell electric cars, if we're trying to, make less polluting vehicles, we should be trying to sell as many as possible.
Yeah. And I mean, you wanted to compare this, like, how about the Model 3 performance?
Exactly. I mean, the Model 3 performance is roughly the same price as this Audi e-tron 50, well over twice the range.
Right.
Well over twice the range. And an incredible 0 to 60 time of 3.3 seconds. And
faster charging.
It has a network that is specifically designed for it, and it can use existing networks. It's very important.
But here's the thing. So for everyone who's like, well, you're just picking on these companies, they had an opportunity when Elon proposed, let's say, the Model 3. They had plenty of time to say, okay, so Elon's proposed this car. Here's the stats he's proposing. Let's sit down with our engineers and figure out a car that can at least match this. But they didn't. They basically either thought Elon was kidding, which they shouldn't have because he had already done this before with the Roadster, the S, and the X, or they thought, well, we don't really want to compete with him because we want to sell ICE cars, which is what they did. So they didn't work at that point to do anything. And then we're all supposed to give them congratulations and pats on the back for having come up with cars that are practically a joke. And the thing is, they could have done it.
Right.
There's absolutely no question in my mind that if VW or Ford or GM had sat down and said, listen, guys, no one's going home until we figure out this problem, they would have figured out the problem.
Because there was no magic in what Tesla was doing. They took laptop batteries, made a crap ton of them, and then put them in a car.
Right.
And then told everyone that that's what they did. So if they wanted to, these giant global car manufacturers could have taken all of their profits and decided, all right, if Tesla's going to make a gigafactory, we're going to make 2 gigafactories. I mean,
whoa. Hold on there, buddy. Gigafactories are not cheap.
Okay.
They cost about $5 billion.
Okay. Volkswagen's profit in 2014 was 2.2 billion euros in profit. Ford had a profit of $9 billion. GM had a profit of $2.8 billion. That was in 2014.
Okay, so in 2014, Tesla must have had quite a profit to pay for this.
They had a profit of $3 million.
Wait, you mean 3 billion?
$3 million. $3 million. Tesla had absolutely nothing. They were selling nowhere near the volume of cars that these other car manufacturers were making, and yet they put in the resources for a gigafactory, and that is why they are currently the leader in everything to do with electric vehicles.
And the thing is, even today, if those companies just said, okay, we were wrong in the past, let's learn from our mistakes, and let's build some gigafactories, folks, they could go out there, they've got the money, they could do it.
They have plenty of cash. They are sitting on cash. They are ready. They can spend it all if they wanted to.
But they don't want to. They want to keep putting out what they put out, which is ICE cars, because they think they can stay profitable by selling those ICE cars for decades to come.
Right.
And here's the thing. Governments are going to get involved.
Right. Whether they're going to get involved today or whether they're going to get involved tomorrow, which is more likely the case, unfortunately, they are going to get involved. Many countries across the EU and across the world have said that they are going to stop allowing the sale of fuel-burning cars by different years.
You might be saying, Zach and Jesse, you guys are so pie in the sky. Yeah, governments are so slow, that's not going to happen. And yeah, governments are slow, but you probably remember this. Big tobacco.
I think it was a little
before your time.
A little bit before my time.
So big tobacco basically used to be just so ginormous. I mean, everyone smoked. Cigarettes were everywhere, advertised everywhere. There was no hope of ever getting them even out of restaurants. I mean, they used to smoke on planes. They used to smoke in hospitals. They used to smoke in restaurants. And then slowly, the tides turned until finally one day, when I guess the kind of nail in the coffin day would have been probably when the Surgeon General put the warning on cigarette labels, really tying them to all the problems that we were having with our health. Mm-hmm. And then you saw this turnaround until one day enough people said, we've had it with this tobacco, and we actually put tobacco on trial, and we actually hauled them up in front of Congress, mm-hmm. and we said, hey, you guys, you're going to pay for all this crap. And they had to pay billions of dollars to try and fix the problem. So today, you can't smoke in hospitals. You can't smoke even near a restaurant. And there's not as many people smoking anymore.
Right.
We kind of turned that one around.
We forced big tobacco to pay for government employees to basically prevent people from buying tobacco products.
Right.
Because that is what we as a society decided was going to be beneficial for all of us. And that is exactly what we're going to do to these big oil companies, to these big auto manufacturers. We're going to be saying, this is your fault. You could have stopped at any time.
That's right.
And the proof is Tesla. The proof is, hello, you could have been doing solar. You could have been doing wind. You could have been doing batteries and battery electric vehicles, but you didn't. You kept selling diesel cars even when they killed people. You kept selling petrol cars even though they kept emitting CO2 into the atmosphere and causing this global climate crisis.
Yeah, I mean, every company's mission should be to help solve this problem. I mean, if you sell shoes or you sell diapers or whatever it is you do, you should have a part of that company's job to be carbon neutral. It doesn't mean that you have to take all your employees on a Wednesday and go solve the problem. It means you have to take a little bit of your profit and put it towards making your company carbon neutral.
Just offsetting the cost, paying someone else to plant trees for you.
Right. And if every company in your industry did that, then you wouldn't cost any more than anyone else. It would be what we should be doing. We should be paying to solve this problem. And we're all going to have to pay one way or the other. The question is, will we pay sooner or will we pay later? Because if we pay later, it's going to cost a whole lot more.
Right. It could cost just modern civilization. I mean, everyone seems to like cars. Do you? Do you like cars? Do you like having the ability to go for a drive, to travel 50, 100, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles by yourself without any help? Do you like that? Do you like the ability to have food stored in a refrigerated box in your house? Do you? Do you like that? Do you like having your medicines, life-saving medicines, stored in a refrigerated box somewhere, ready to administer to you as soon as you need them? Do you like that? You would like to continue to do that? We need to solve this problem.
And we're not going to be on here every week ranting and raving about the problem. We also want to deal with the fun stuff because there's lots of fun technology and there are solutions to this problem, but we don't like to shoot the messenger. And we'd appreciate if you guys joined us in solving the problems together.
Everyone seems to be wondering where this change is going to come from. They seem to think that it's going to be coming from this magical, like the climate scientists are going to turn around and be like, we figured it out. Here it is in this lab tube. No,
it's a black box and it's going to take care of all the climate problems.
It's not going to happen. Like, that's not the solution. The solution isn't going to be some magical technology that's going to solve all of our problems. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take, us saying, actually, no, we're not going to allow, we're not going to subsidize fossil fuels. In fact, fossil fuels, you are now outlawed.
Right.
And, you're going on trial and you're going to be paying to, offset the horrific damage you've done to our world and that you are going to be doing to millions and millions of people on this planet. And that change is going to come from you. I wish I wish it didn't have to. I wish that aliens would land and they would hand us some magical piece of technology that would solve all of our problems. But it's going to come from you. It's going to come from the conversations that you have. It's going to come from the actions that you make.
Yeah.
And so, buying an electric car is one step. It is one small step for mankind.
I would disagree. It's a big step. It's a step that we can all take.
It has reverberations,
Yeah.
It causes people to reevaluate their lives, because the only time that people evaluate their lives are when it's right in front of them. Okay, you can watch all the documentaries you want and all the movies and the TV shows where you learn some big valuable lesson, and you can cry and be like, "Oh my gosh, I just care so much about the penguins now," and then you'll get back into your SUV. Until the change is in your face, until it's somebody that you know directly, the change doesn't happen. And you can be that change for that person.
And so when we're picking on other car companies because they can't come up with a car as good as a Tesla, what makes me upset is if those car companies could, and if they did,
I'd be shouting from the hilltops.
I would be too. And not only that, you guys would be driving them. Absolutely. Everyone, what's happening right now is when the Model 3 comes to your street, people see it and they start buying it. Tesla's not advertising it. Do you realize that for a second? That if Tesla advertised like every other car company, then everyone in your office, everyone in your life would know about Tesla. But they don't. If they know about it, it's probably because you talked to them about it.
Right.
Otherwise, if you were to just ask some random people on the street about Tesla, most of them would probably they were like, I think I heard something about, I don't know.
Now, you could be like, okay, well, Tesla should be advertising. What is wrong with them? Why wouldn't they be advertising if this is going to solve the problem?
They can't make enough cars right now.
They literally can't produce enough cars.
Right.
They are maxing out their production as much as they can because they're still a small company.
And so this is why I'm mad. If VW and Ford and GM and all these others would make a car like Tesla cars, then there would be enough of these cars. There would be millions of cars available for sale.
Right. But they don't want to.
No.
Right? They just keep wanting to profit off of these polluting cars, and they want to just sort of hide the fact that they're selling these. That's why they sent it to me, because I'm on a list somewhere because I bought a Model 3. And they're like, this guy bought a Model 3.
And you might be saying, well, Zac and Jesse, there wouldn't be enough batteries. You know what? There probably would be, because if they all spent billions of dollars on factories to make batteries, they would appear. That's what happens with every other technology. No one thought there'd be enough cell phones when they first started making cell phones, or enough TVs, or whatever,
Cars.
No one could picture at the turn of the century that there'd be, 15 TVs in everybody's house and cell phones and whatever. If people want it, they make it.
Right.
It's just that none of those car companies invested in it. So that's why there aren't enough batteries at the moment. So thank you for joining us every week. It's because of this community, and this is a growing community, by the way. It's because of this community that we're going to be able to make a change. Right now, as we speak, Jesse and I are working on a website that is going to be a way to make community projects around the world happen easier. And if it weren't for this amazing community that we have, the generosity that you guys have shown with your volunteering your time, we couldn't do it.
No.
But you did, and we are. And it's pretty damn exciting. And we're excited to be here every week with you.
So thank you so much for watching. And a big thank you to all of our Patreon patrons who support this channel, because without their support, this channel wouldn't exist.
See you next week.
Now
you know.